Folks, the LSU Tigers are on the field, getting ready, getting better, improving, getting set for 2023. Carter's here to talk up LSU. We always appreciate Carter stopping by. It's Power Hour LSU. It's Power Hour SEC right here on YouTube. Carter, what's going on today?
Life is great, Mark. I gained a lot of Texas A&M followers. I'm starting to believe in them finally. But yeah, man, life is wonderful. I always enjoy college football season. I'm also really happy I made a few Florida State fans through your channel last year. Really excited for this game coming up.
Yeah, got to have you on here in a couple of weeks to prep the big Florida State matchup in Orlando. No doubt about that. Is there anything left to be said about Jaden Daniels? We've had like 8 months to review what he did last season, but of course he's the guy, and wanted to get you on here to kind of review the offense. And of course it goes with him.
Yeah, it does. And obviously he's doing a lot right now. He loves going to California to work out. He has worked out a lot with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Those three are really tight. All three of them, being from California, coming out around the same time. Obviously, Jaden was a year before them. But still, he has really put a lot of work in. His body has changed as well. And obviously, LSU, not only the fans, but the coaching staff and Jaden himself, wants to become a better thrower. Mark, he was by far the best scrambling quarterback when it comes to scramble yards. Nobody comes close. When it comes to broken tackles as a runner, nobody really came close to Jaden Daniels and his explosive running ability. And he was okay as a passer. He was a guy that avoided mistakes, but obviously they want him to take more shots down the field, and I think he will this year.
The LSU quarterback depth based on the recruiting has been significant, but Walker Howard moves on. Of course, Garrett Nussmeyer, your confidence level in him having to fill in meaningful games?
Yeah, I think Garrett's really good. Obviously, we saw what he did in the Georgia game, and it was a complete 180 after having the season start the way it did for him with a really rough performance in relief versus Southern. But as the season moved on, he matured, and this was a guy who is very solid in all aspects of the game of football, but he is spectacular when it comes to taking chances and throwing the football down the field. So that is the one thing he does provide this offense better than Jaden Daniels at this point. And if there was an opportunity for LSU wanting to get someone in there who is better throwing the ball vertically down the field, it would be him. But this is a Jaden Daniels show. I have a lot of belief in Jaden. Everybody does at this point. And one of the key things, Mark, is both of those two individually like being around each other. It's a real authentic quarterback room, even though they're both competing for the same job.
Josh Williams, Noah Cain, John Emery seems like he's been around forever. Those guys are back. It's been a few years removed from the LSU back that we just expect to throw up 1,500 yards and be that kind of guy. How do you see this distribution of carries in this backfield being utilized?
Yeah, Mark, I'm interested. Have you ever seen a running back room with 8 scholarship backs? I want to ask you that.
I don't believe so. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Right. And the funny thing is all 8 of them have a legitimate gripe for getting carries this next season. It will be the Josh Williams show to start things off with the Notre Dame transfer Logan Diggs. And obviously the Penn State transfer, Noah Cain, going into year 2 with LSU. But LSU surprisingly got 2 new running backs. And they're not necessarily new, but they were guys that a lot of people didn't expect to be back with the team. They got John Emery back, and they got Trey Bradford back. They also got Armani Goodwin back, and 2 true freshman running backs from the state of Louisiana, and Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly. So I think those top 3, Noah Cain, Logan Diggs, and Josh Williams, will get a majority of the carries, but it truly can be anybody's room.
When we look at the receiver core, it's always a strength. Brian Thomas, he's exciting. Of course, the transfers come in, again, size up the room and rank it against, LSU standards.
Yeah, you if you go to Power Hour LSU, we just did a deep dive on Brian Thomas Jr. I'm glad you mentioned him by name because everyone's talking about Malik Neighbors. Everyone's talking about the new transfer, Aaron Anderson. And the best receiver in the spring game was Kyron Lacey. But Brian Thomas Jr. has been around LSU now for 2 years. He's a really good blocker, runs really good routes. He's a good team player. But he hasn't had a big game at LSU statistically. He's never had a game of 70 yards receiving or more, and his talent obviously warrants more than that, and I think it will. He's had some really bad luck at LSU when it comes to pass interference penalties, which obviously gives you yardage when it comes to barely being missed by Jaden or Garrett. So I think BTJ is a guy that's going to have a big season, but once again, after Malik Neighbors, it is wide open for anybody to get, more targets. And obviously, really quickly, you're at the tight ends. Mason Taylor, a guy who took up a lot of targets last year for LSU. Be on the lookout for a guy named Kamarion Pimpton, a true freshman they brought in from Texas. But
I think we lost you right there at this end of that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, I think
Mason
Taylor's going to have a big season too.
Now, Carter, when you look at the wide receivers, are you comfortable with having that distribution of body types, speed types, the slot guy, the big body frame guy that can go up and outfight guys, the guy that can take the top off the defense? Is there that array and that diversity that you're typically looking for out of an elite team?
Yeah, I think Shelton Sampson's another name to keep an eye out for. True freshman, he's 6'4". He was a top 100 recruit out of Baton Rouge, Catholic High, where Clyde Edwards-Helaire played, where, to use a Florida State name, Mork Dunn played. So I think Shelton Sampson's another guy to keep an eye out for.
I remember what a NFL player personnel director once said, and it stuck with me for a long, long time. When predicting the next season, I want to know quarterback play and I want to know offensive line play. Those are the two things I want to know. I want to know the quality of the offensive line and how many people are coming back. And this seems to go in waves in college football. The transfer portal has played with this number a little bit, but the inexperienced offensive lines then the next offseason going into the next season become the experienced offensive lines and vice versa. You got an experienced offensive line at a top school. They all leave for the NFL draft. So we talked about the youth last season. We talk about experience coming into this season, 122 starts coming back and 4 starters return. And we're talking about grade A quality starters.
Yeah. I mean, Will Campbell has a strong case of being the best left tackle in the SEC, and Emory Jones as well, another Catholic High kid, had a great true freshman season. And then the middle is where it gets really interesting. Charles Turner is a really good center, not the biggest guy, but makes a good snap every time and knows where to go. And then Miles Frazier, the transfer, will be the left guard. The right guard battle should be very interesting. They bring in a transfer from Maryland by the name of Mason Lunsford. So there is a wide variety of people who could be that right guard.
Carter's amazing. Find out for yourself right here on YouTube. LSU Power Hour, SEC Power Hour. Get on over there. Get yourself ready for the 23 season. Be an expert. Check out Carter's work. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, let's do it, Mark. I appreciate your big dog. It's that season, baby. Can't wait to talk defense next time, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Absolutely.